Imagine to be in 793 AD, and a fleet of dragon-headed longships cuts through the fog, heading straight for the peaceful monastery of Lindisfarne. In mere hours, the monks are slaughtered, their treasures plundered, and their sacred halls reduced to smoldering ruins. These weren't just raiders. They were the Vikings, a people so fierce and fascinating that their legacy still haunts us today. From blood-soaked battles to rituals of shocking depravity, this is the raw, uncensored tale of the Vikings. Buckle up, because it's going to get wild. The Viking Age erupted in the late 8th century from Scandinavia's rugged lands, today's Norway, Sweden, and Denmark. They weren't one unified nation, but a patchwork of farmers, traders, and warriors, all driven by a hunger for glory and gold. Viking comes from the Old Norse for pirate, a title earned through chaos. Their debut hit was that infamous Lindisfarne raid, a brutal wake-up call for Europe. The Anglo-Saxon Chronicle wailed, "The heathens poured out the blood of saints around the altar." And that was just the beginning. From there, the Vikings unleashed hell. They tore through Britain, Ireland, and France, looting monasteries and torching villages with a savage glee that left survivors in terror. In 845 AD, they laid siege to Paris, extorting a ransom of silver, known as Danegeld, to spare the city. But they didn't just destroy, they conquered and created. They carved out England's Danelaw, founded Dublin, and settled Iceland and Greenland. They even reached North America 500 years before Columbus, with Leif Erikson touching down in Vinland around 1000 AD. Their sleek longships carried them to Constantinople and Baghdad, trading slaves and furs for silk and silver. What was daily life like for these northern terrors? They crammed into longhouses with family and livestock, feasting on fish, pork, and barley stew, chased with mead. Dressed in wool and fur, they bathed weekly, surprisingly hygienic for the era. Their society stacked kings and jarls at the top, free men called carls in the middle, and thralls at the bottom. Slaves, often war captives, faced grim fates, worked death, or sacrificed in rituals. One chilling account describes a slave girl strangled and stabbed to escort her master into the afterlife. A brutal send-off. War was the Vikings' art form, and they painted it red. Their longships struck without warning, disgorging warriors wielding axes, swords, and spears. Some fought in a berserker rage, possibly fueled by hallucinogens, ripping through foes like beasts. The Blood Eagle was a rumored execution, where ribs were hacked open and lungs pulled out to mimic wings. Scholars debate if it was real, but its legend terrified enemies. Raids were apocalyptic. Villages burned, families massacred, survivors chained. Monks were once hung like grim ornaments, a message to defy at your peril. Now, let's dive into the Viking bedroom, or battlefield, because their sexual habits were as untamed as their raids. Polygamy was standard for the powerful. A chieftain might boast a wife and a stable of concubines, often slaves snatched from conquered lands. These women were commodities, sold in bustling markets from Dublin to the Volga River. Viking men weren't shy about desire either. Same-sex encounters among warriors were noted in sagas, shrugged off as part of life. Romantic disputes? They had a crazy way to settle those. Imagine a duel called Holmgang, where the winner snagged everything: land, treasure, or even their sweetheart. At funerals, things turned downright macabre. One saga recounts a slave girl gang-raped by 6 men, as part of a chieftain's burial rite, then killed to serve him in death. It's grotesque, it's real, and it's Viking to the core. The violence didn't stop at war. Sexual brutality was woven into their conquests. Monastic chronicles, like those from Alcuin, lament women and children hauled off as slaves, bound for lives of servitude and violation. In markets like Hidibi, women fetch at high prices as concubines, their futures dictated by coin. Viking law saw slaves as property, their rape shrugged off as a master's right. Even marriage had a dark edge. Women were sometimes kidnapped or coerced, their say irrelevant. The sagas mention bride running, a ritual where a groom chased his bride down, a twisted mix of courtship and capture that underscored their world's harshness. Their gods fueled this ferocity. Freya, goddess of love and war, claimed half the slain for her hall. Her worship tied to fertility rites, it could spiral into frenzied excess. Think sex, chance, and no boundaries. In the shadows of pagan groves, rituals blended lust and death. Slaves were sacrificed in ceremonies dripping with blood and taboo, offered to appease Odin or Thor. These acts, documented in sagas and by horrified outsiders, reveal a culture as complex as it was cruel. By the 11th century, the Viking flame flickered out. Christianity tamed their pagan fire. Kings like Harald Bluetooth traded Thor's hammer for the cross. The Battle of Stamford Bridge in 1066, where Harold Hardrada the Fell slammed the door shut. They melted into Europe, leaving laws, trade networks, and words like knife and husband in English. They were chaos incarnate, raiders who pillaged and raped, explorers who charted the unknown. Their sexual customs were raw, their violence relentless, yet their mark endures. From Lindisfarne's ashes to Vinland's shores, they lived fiercely, died messily, and gave us a saga drenched in blood and wonder. Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and hit that subscribe button for more mind-blowing ancient history. Can't wait to see you in the next video on the Synthetic Oracle channel.